Bridget Jones's Baby. So on the show last week, we had Renee Zellweger and Colin Firth talking about Bridget Jones's Baby. So returning director Sharon Maguire, screenplay by Emma Thompson, Dan Mazza, and Emma Fielding, of course, is the originator of Bridget Jones. So there's a joke in the film about sell-by dates, which must have been put there sort of consciously, because obviously the thing is this still funny? We were talking just a minute ago about how when the first Bridget Jones came out, you do think this is a really terrific comic creation, and there is still a huge amount of affection for the character of Bridget Jones and for the whole sort of diary format. So we begin with Bridget Jones on her 43rd birthday, listening to All By Myself again and wondering out loud, how the hell did I end up here again? And they then sort of segue into something else, and then it sort of says, okay, fine, so new start. So this time round, Mark Darcy, as played by Colin Firth, who, despite the opening funeral, is not dead, because in the literature, I am writing this on it because I haven't read the books. In the literature, his character has passed.
But the most recent book is like 10 years later than this film.
Okay.
And the book starts with her being a widow.
Okay, fine, because
that story is not this story.
No, fine. Okay, so in this, Mark Darcy is clearly alive. There is a funeral at the beginning, but it's not him. It turns out to be
4 weddings.
Turns out to be a gag about the Hugh Grant character, who, as you were saying in the interview, there was something about the script he wasn't happy with the script, which is odd, particularly because there is a large section of this movie which does play an awful lot like 9 Months. You remember that? Which, of course,
I do remember that.
In which Hugh did star. And Jack Patrick Dempsey is this online dating magnate. Bridget goes to a festival, stays in the glampiest of yurts possible, and has a brief ding-dong with Jack. And then the rest of the film sort of plays out as a...
So when you say ding-dong, normally that means a fight. She doesn't have a fight.
Ding-dong doesn't mean a fight.
It does. There was a bit of a ding-dong outside. A ding-dong...
It
what you mean is, how's your father?
No, but it depends on ding-dong. It depends how you use it.
Oh, I say, yes, if you give it that kind of...
Terry Thomas inclination, then suddenly it becomes... Yes, she doesn't have a fight with Jack, although she might do in the way that... Do you remember that... I told you there's somebody who wrote into the Collins and McConey show who said that Mummy and Daddy are upstairs quietly fighting.
Yes.
Which became the
euphemism.
Okay,
well, in that context.
In that context, fine, they have indeed a ding-dong. Can I carry on? I love the fact that you complain about me interrupting. Anyway, so now Bridget Jones, no plot spoilers here because in the thing, is going to have a baby. The question is, which of the two suitors is the father? Enter brilliantly screenwriter and all-round top screen presence. I love her every moment she's on screen. Emma Thompson. Here's a clip.
Oh, so this is Dad, I presume. So glad you could be here. Oh, this is a unique and wonderful moment.
Dr. Rawlings, I wonder if you could maybe do me a favour.
So this is Dad, I presume. Pleased to meet you. I'm so glad you could be here. This is a unique and wonderful moment. Before we start, would you like to know the sex?
Maybe we should be prepared.
I'm not sure.
It's a boy.
Oh, a boy.
A boy.
A boy.
It's our boy.
A boy.
Oh, my boy.
So partly playing that clip because everybody's heard that, everybody knows the context of that clip because it's the clip that's been doing the rounds, but partly also because it has the great and majestic Emma Thompson in it. And one of the things...
You love her?
Well, she's fabulous. I mean, she is fabulous. One of the things that one wonders is whether or not her contribution to the screenplay was giving herself all the very best lines, because I think she's only on screen for about 10, 15 minutes, but every single moment that she's on screen, almost every line that she delivers is really funny. That cannot be said for the rest of the film. I mean, there are definite ups and downs in the script. I mean, there's some gag, like there's the gag about the Gangnam Style dance, which feels odd in a movie that's being made now, because that gag is so old, even I got it. There's a gag about cats that look like Hitler, which is a gag that's so old it predates. Well, it's the birth of the internet, and it turns up in The Social Network. There's also a use of pop music which is best described as very on the nose. So when somebody is in love, they will play a love song, and when somebody is cross, they will play Lily Allen.
Oh, so it's like Pan's People on top of the pops. Very literal interpretation.
That's very good. Do you remember Pan's People, I Can't Stand the Rain, in which they were dancing with umbrellas?
Obviously.
Exactly. So
Someone's knocking on the
someone's
door.
knocking at the door. Yes, someone is ringing the bell. I mean, I know Elvis started all this when he sang to a hound dog on television, but even he thought that was a rubbish idea at the time, because that's not quite what the song meant. That said, there is a use of music for a Richard Gere gag, which I did think was funny. So it's very, very patchy in terms of its humour. And it's very, very funny every moment Emma Thompson is on screen. There is some good, fun, physical slapstick. Many people have referred to the revolving door sequence, but it's that physical slapstick is really hard to direct and really hard to perform and really hard to get right. And that stuff is funny. I was also impressed and entertained by Colin Firth's permanent look of, disdain. The fact that he spends the entire movie, except for the moments when he's sort of being, when he's being lovely, he's looking slightly cross. And it's interesting because Colin Firth's face has aged in a particular way that it gives him kind of both a gravitas and also there's just something about the way he sort of, it's almost a sneer, but it isn't quite, but it's generally a sort of look of very British exasperation at everything, which is exactly the foil that Renee Zellweger needs for doing the Bridget Jones character, because it has to be, you have to see her character through the eyes of somebody who is completely besotted whilst at the same time being utterly exasperated. And I think that works well. One of the most ridiculous gags at this point is she's working on a TV station, a news station, which is kind of some very, I mean, the humour is generally very broad. There is one incredibly broad routine about putting the wrong person on air, which would seem utterly farcical were it not for the fact that it is, of course, as we know, true. I thought
pretty much all of the broadcasting TV stuff felt like W1A had done it first, or either real life,
and also and much closer to the truth first. And
so that whole Hoxton beard, all those sort of groovy young people who think they know what they're talking about, felt a little, a couple of years behind the times, but funny enough.
Yeah, funny enough. I mean, I think that's funny enough. It certainly passed the 6 laugh test, and at least 6 of them were Emma. There are, as I said, moments of slapstick physical comedy in it that work. Very, very uneven, very up and down, huge sections in which you do think this joke is an old joke and it's being dusted down and I don't really need. So it's not great, but it's funny enough.